Oh, and Kip just came in too.
We'll still give Bill a minute.
Yep.
...2020 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission, and pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this public meeting of the Town of Bolton Conservation Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but the public can access this meeting while in progress by Zoom video communications. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by telephone, cell phone, or personal computer using Zoom. That said, as always, we will start with a roll call, and I am Brian Barabee.
I'm Jeff Bryan.
Emily Winter.
Bill Payne.
Rebecca Longvall.
All right. Do we get Lori?
She is still signing in. I resent the email and am guiding her to the town website as well. So we have a quorum, so we can obviously continue.
Okay.
Because I think it may take her a moment to get in, but also just a reminder that participants should be using the raise hand function or chat function in order to address the board. And the chair will ask if there are any public comment, and at that time, please utilize the chat or raise hand function. Remain on mute until you have been addressed by the board chair. Either I will unmute you or you can unmute yourself at that time. And participants are required to display their first and last names as their name via Zoom.
Okay. So, that said, excuse me, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now open a public hearing regarding the request for determination of applicability under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233, regarding a proposed solar ground mount and associated trenching. The public meeting to begin right now.
Okay.
All right. Rebecca, do we have somebody representing the applicant?
I apologize. I was told there would be, but I'm not seeing anyone present to represent the applicant. This is a request for determination, as Brian said, for a solar mount. The description of the work is as follows. They're looking to obviously install the solar panel system itself. Bear with me for one moment. They would like to install a 40-panel ground-mounted solar array with trench running from solar array to main house, which is this line here. The trench will extend from the location of the array and stop 1 to 2 feet before the dry bed. This is what they're referring to as the dry creek bed. The conduit will exit the ground and run alongside the footbridge. This is the footbridge here, where it will re-enter the trench on the opposite side. There will be no changes to the nature of the surrounding or underlying area. Or excuse me, there's a footbridge here as well.
All right, there it goes. Do we, oh, I was to say, I'm looking at the satellite photo. Do we know, is it a dry creek bed?
We're
not-
currently
doesn't
in a
show.
drought, so I would have minimal doubt that it's dry currently. But that during a drought period, it does not mean much.
Does it show on, and I mean, I'm looking at the wetlands, it looks like in the back left corner of that map.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's why we're getting asked, is that it's everything falls in buffer zone or majority in buffer zone?
Yep.
All right, so that creek bed never showed up on any type of mass waterway as far as we know?
Not as a perennial stream.
Okay.
That I can answer to. But it doesn't distinguish between intermittent or not. Where this is a wetland here, and this seems to be the drainage area from that wetland resource area. I haven't been out to this site to see if there's any wetland vegetation along that dry creek bed, which it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's pretty well defined, but
Yeah.
it may constitute a site visit.
That's the only thing I'm questioning. And is it the structure bound by the ground mount? Is that a barn or like an outbuilding or a different?
Here,
Yeah.
I believe that is a barn.
All right. Well, and no applicant online as far as we can tell.
No, I don't see them.
All right. I'll give my 2 cents. I think without anybody here to talk for it, it's worth a site visit just to see what that dry creek bed is. As far as the trenching and the solar array goes, it looks like it's all going to be on existing lawn. I don't seem to have, offhand, I don't see really any issues with it. It's just a question for me of what that creek bed is and if we need to do like erosion controls. What kind of erosion controls would be necessary, or would they even be necessary, is really the only question I have.
Okay.
But that said, I would open up to the rest of the commission. Does anybody else have any questions or initial thoughts on this project?
I agree, Brian, that I would like to just see what that dry creek bed looks like, and not only for potential water, but also vegetation, like you said. If there's any natural vegetation in there, knowing whether they would need to restore that, or I honestly, without having someone here to talk to this project, I think we definitely should at least see that whole situation.
I have to agree with everybody. Should be, we should go take a look.
All right. Rebecca, I know we can't necessarily continue, but do you have thoughts, any initial thoughts on this project as you see it so far? You're on mute. Rebecca, you're on mute.
I have no issue with it. It's pretty straightforward, other than getting a better understanding of what resources are on site and what resource areas are jurisdictional. In their note, in their proposal, it states it's not jurisdictional, but that's why I want to just go out and review the site to make sure that it doesn't have any bordering vegetated wetland. And even if the water doesn't flow year round, it still is jurisdictional. But I think they were relaying the work, since they are not trenching under or through, they're going above it and then continuing the trench along the side. So I think that's what they meant, but without the direct quote from them, I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right. Is there?
It's
Go ahead.
time frame, and from this map I can't really tell. How are they getting to it as far as any construction material?
So there is a single family home here,
Mm-hmm.
which is what the property is associated with. And that's all I know. You can see in the satellite image, there is a driveway that it looks relatively close to that dry channel. So one would assume that they're stockpiling there, or the commission would be able to condition that they're going to stockpile there. Actually, I think the representative just entered. So if you give them a moment. Oh, no, it was someone else. I apologize. So that's something that I would like to hear from the applicant as well. It is something that the commission has the ability to condition, but right now I don't have any weigh in from the applicant, obviously.
All right. Is there anybody else here tonight to comment on this? Members of the public, please raise your hand.
I see no chat function. And I see no raised hands.
All right. Okay, so we can't continue without permission. Am I correct on that? All right, so we're probably going to have to close and then just take action on it next meeting.
Yep.
Rebecca, would you be so kind as to possibly reach out to the applicant, see when and if site visit times might be available, and then
Yep.
kind of throw it back to us to get out there?
Sure.
That would be fantastic. All right, in that case, I'm going to make a motion that we close the public hearing for 113 Wilder Road. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Jeff Bryant,
Aye.
Emily Winter,
Aye.
Skip McNamara,
Aye.
Bill Payne,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well, Rebecca.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I apologize. I tried to format this in a better way, and it doesn't seem to be working as well as I thought it would.
Well, we made it through the first hearing without any injuries, so
We did.
so
okay.
far it's working so well. I'm free to open the second, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the Bolton Conservation Commission will now open a public hearing for a request for determination of applicability under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233, regarding a previously issued determination on June 6th regarding installation of a dry hydrant and other maintenance work at the existing fire pond not completed under the prior determination due to financial constraints.
Yes.
Do you want to give us a quick explanation of that, Rebecca?
Yes, I can do just that.
Yeah.
So the proposal, again, as Brian has already stated, was for the fire pond on Wattaquattack Hill Road. It's already there, but they're looking to install a dry hydrant at this location. The description given then and now is that it is a municipal project to be carried out by the fire department to install a dry hydrant at the location of the fire pond at 228 Wattaquatic Hill Road. No dredging would take place. Any brush would be chipped. Logs removed from the pond will be transported to the sand pit behind Bolton Orchards at Route 117 and Route 110, operated by Christopher Slade. The logs would be recycled, ground into wood chips, and the work would take place around the end of September 2020. So they're lined up to do this work now. It hadn't been done in the past due to financial constraints. And I believe Jack is present at the last determination. At the time of the last determination, the commission issued a -5 determination claiming that it was an exemption.
All right. Is Jack here?
Yes.
I am.
Jack, you want to give us a 2-second rundown? I'm familiar with these projects. I know we've done them before, but if you could just give us a quick overview.
Yeah, Rebecca covered it pretty much in what I had written on the application. You know, we're going to go in with we have to be very careful because per Mrs. Case, but we're going to clean up the old debris. Rebecca, can you show them the picture of the debris in the picture? Is that possible?
I can see.
Anyhow, there's a lot of debris, logs have fallen in the pond, et cetera, and we want to clean up all the junk, get it out of there, and then install the dry hydrant. The pond is pretty well, you know, some of these ponds were dug before the Second World War. I'm not sure when this one was dug, but it's held its form quite nicely. It's kind of a gravel base, and basically that's what Rebecca read is about the story of it. It's will provide water supply for the top of Wattaquatic, which is, you know, the pond is there in the wintertime, but access can be difficult. All these locations, when we put the dry hydrant in, it makes it a lot easier to.
I apologize, I don't have the digital version.
Oh, there it is, right there.
Yeah,
Perfect.
there it is.
So that's roughly in it. I haven't been up there, so it could be even drier than that. That picture was taken about 3 or 4 years ago, but it's still, it looks about the same.
Yeah. I remember the first time this came through and approving it and hearing about it. I really don't have many questions with it as it stands, but if other commission members have any questions, now would be a good time to put them forward. Right. Rebecca, do you have any strong thoughts on this or anything? Nope.
I don't, other than it's beneficial that they're maintaining the fire ponds for both public safety reasons, but also for the resource area, or the preservation of those resource areas as well. So it's a co-benefit situation.
Thank you. Is there anybody here to comment on this from the general public?
See none in the chat. And I see none.
Okay. If anybody has any last minute questions, I'm going to make a motion that we close the public hearing for request for determination of applicability for the fire pond at Assessor's Map 4.B and 5.1. Here a second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor of closing, start with Jeff Bryant,
Aye.
Emily Winter,
Aye.
Kit McNamara,
Aye.
Bill Payne,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. I'd like to make a motion that we issue a -5 determination for the request for determination of applicability for the fire pond at Assessor's Map 4.B-5.1.
Second.
All those in favor, starting with Jeff Bryant,
Aye.
Emily Winter,
Aye.
Kit McNamara,
Aye.
Bill Payne,
Aye.
All right, and and I as well.
Lori is also on here now, just to note.
Lori Stevenson, did you hear that lovely explanation?
I did. I'm an I.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Good to hear.
Lori.
No worries.
All right. Next up, we have a request for a certificate of compliance for 460 Main Street. Rebecca, do you have details on that?
The update is the property owner's representative has requested a continuation via email. So they are still, and the reason being they're still gathering further information about what work was done, what work has yet to be completed. If that is the case, and update the narrative to the commission.
Okay. Did I need to open that as a public hearing, the request for a COC?
No, you don't need to open it, but you do need to you do need to continue it.
Gotcha. In that case, I would like to make, what is our next meeting date? I'm sorry.
September 1st.
Let me try that again. What time is open?
7:30.
7:30? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. All right. So I would like to make a motion that
Hey, Rebecca, there's a hand from a gentleman named Don Cole.
Oh.
On the chat.
Because we've continued it, we're not supposed to open the discussion on the item.
He asked a
Gotcha.
question before you continued it.
Yeah.
So,
I
yes,
think my
I
question's
understand.
pretty
Okay.
straightforward. From what I understand, they've already started work based on comments that you folks made in the last meeting.
Yes.
They stopped work?
No, so they have requested, they requested a certificate of compliance.
Yep.
Then it was noted, because the work was never carried out. I noted that we had documentation that work had been carried out. So that's why they're requesting the continuation, so that they can look into that and gather their documents associated with that, because it's the new property owner inherited the property, and they are now trying to find those documents to supplement what we have as well.
Okay, so they're not continuing potentially, I guess you'd call it illegally. I'm sure that's too
No,
harsh a word.
no. So
Okay.
there are certain things that are allowed, such as testing or things like that, but I'm unaware of any work that is being done on the property. They are continuing so that they can research and provide a proper narrative to the commission, so that the commission can consider a request, because at this time, we don't have the proper information to consider the request.
Okay, thank you. I won't take any more of your time, and I'll see you guys the next meeting.
Okay.
No problem. Okay. That said, I'd like to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for the certificate of compliance for 460 Main Street until our next public meeting, Tuesday, September 1st, 2020 at 7:30 p.m.
Second,
Oh, I'll get right at it. All right.
bunch of seconds.
All those in favor, Jeff Bryant?
If this is the property right across the street from Town City Hall, right?
It's the gas station property.
Oh, okay.
Gas
Well,
station near the country club.
hey,
Yeah.
aye.
All right. Emily Winter?
Oh, Emily's muted.
I think we got a hand out. Kip McNamara?
Aye.
Bill Payne?
Aye.
Lori Stevenson?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well, so continue. All right. Next up, another request for a certificate of compliance. This time, Lot 3 Long Hill Road. Rebecca, do we have an update on this one?
We do, and we have a representative president as well, but I'll summarize and then they can jump in if I leave anything out. So this project was permitted. It has an open order of conditions. There is a new property owner who will be coming forward to the commission with a new proposed project that does not meet the same or isn't within the same parameters. Some of the work has actually been pushed further away from the resource area, or so I've been told. So they're looking to close this order out since no work, and definitely no work, has been conducted on site, so that they can then file a permit or a request for the newly proposed work, which is actually what they do wish to carry out under the new property owner. Chris,
All right.
does that make sense?
Yes, Rebecca pretty much covered it pretty well there. And I can assure you, having looked at the plans that were previously approved and the plan that I already have ready to go and to be submitted to you guys, there'll be a significant reduction going on in the buffer zone on the new plan. So I think overall you'll find it's a better plan than the original. So just for cleaning up paperwork, we want to get the old order conditions thing closed out.
Rebecca, I know we've done ones like this in the past. Is there anything special or specific that we would need to do as we close it out? Do we say that we're issuing it under the guidance that nothing has been done, or?
Yeah. So what you do is you would issue an invalid order of conditions, which states that it is hereby certified that the work regulated by the above order of conditions never commenced.
So basically issuing an invalidation of the
It's
current
called,
order.
yeah. So you're issuing a certificate of compliance for the reasons of an invalid order of conditions.
All right. All right. Any members of the commission have questions regarding this or thoughts? Is there anybody here from the public to comment on this?
I see none.
All right. Do I officially need to close it before we take any action?
Nope.
All right. So in that case, I'd like to make a motion that we issue a certificate of compliance for Lot 3 Long Hill Road. We issue a certificate of compliance. Note the issue that it's closed out because it's an invalid OOC with the work having never commenced.
Yep.
Beautiful. Do I hear a second on that?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, Jeff Bryant,
Aye.
Emily Winter,
Aye.
Kip McNamara,
Aye.
Bill Payne,
Aye.
Lori Stevenson,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Next up. Thank you, Chris. Take care.
So next up, we have a request for certificate of compliance from Houghton Farm. And I'm just going to pull up that set of plans.
Yeah, please.
Greg, I believe you've been unmuted as well.
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
I apologize, my dog was barking. We conducted a site visit on the 13th, and we, meaning myself, the town planner, the town's engineer, Greg was present, and the property owner. We walked the site. I do have documents talking about the wetland restoration area and the work associated adjacent to the wetland resource area, the conservation restriction, the open space deeds as well. And everything was in compliance. The only items shown on this plan that could seemingly be outstanding, but I don't believe it impacts the order of conditions or prohibits the commission from issuing a certificate of compliance, is on lot 4 here. There is a home occupancy that has been storing their trailer and equipment along the road shoulder. Again, it doesn't seem to have an impact on any of the stormwater infrastructure or the roadway itself. Just noting that that's an item that myself and the town planner will be addressing or have addressed with the property owner. Additionally, there was some resurfacing that needs to be done, and resurfacing meaning just some added stone material to the walkway. But outside of that, related to, again, the wetlands, the crossing, the restoration area here, I did not see any areas of non-compliance. And I'll let Greg give a summary of the work that's been done.
Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, maybe just a quick history lesson. I'm not sure how many folks, if any, were here when we permitted this, because this project's been around for quite a while. This project was permitted back in the 2010 timeframe, so we're about a decade old. And if you're familiar with the site, which I'm sure many of you are, the project included 15 housing units, 13 of which were on the roadway. One of them was on had frontage directly on Sugar Road, and the other one had frontage directly on Golden Run Road. So that we're talking really about a roadway with 13 houses. A little over halfway down the road is a stream that we needed to cross, and that was done with an open bottom corrugated metal arch, as Rebecca's pointed out there. So that was done to, this project was one of the first stream crossing standard jobs we did. So that was done to stream crossing standards with the openness ratios and all that. There was some replication that was associated with that. In spite of the fact that we use an open channel, we did have some replication work, and that is right where Rebecca's pointing out. As she stated, the order required several seasons of monitoring, which was done back many years ago at this point, in the years immediately after that was constructed, which, oh boy, I think it was in the, as I said, it's in the 2010, 11, 12 time frame. That's been established for a number of years. So it was that area of significant work, and then the other area where we had significant work in the buffer zone was at the front of the project at the entrance. The same stream travels down through the meadow and bypasses but feeds a existing pond right down at the intersection, right there. And as part of the project, we worked with the town and the fire department to prove that that as a fire protection pond. We actually installed a dry hydrant as part of the project. So that was included in the order of conditions. Again, that installation was done quite a number of years ago. And then of course we have some drainage basins on either side of the road in that location that both discharge, the overflows discharge down into that pond as well. So there's a storm drain system that discharges down right where Rebecca's cursor is located. We had some plantings associated with this project. Those are shown on the as-built plan. It was a mixture of street trees, deciduous street trees along the road, and then some evergreen plantings that were done as depicted on the plans. Right where Rebecca's pointing is a clump of evergreen trees that were required. And then in that same vicinity, we did also do some invasive species removal. I think it was at Rebecca's request. There was some, I think it was bittersweet, Rebecca. Was it buckthorn or both? in
It
there?
was bittersweet, some barberry,
Barberry.
but the majority of it was bittersweet. It had
Right.
basically started taking over the trees.
Yeah, like it has a tendency to do. So we have done that too. Of course, that's a labor of love for future future owners. As you know, bittersweet just keeps coming back. I think that's about all. As Rebecca said, we everything's stable. It's been stable for quite a while. The only outstanding items really that we have to do are some punch list items on the planning board and the road construction, significant of which being the final paving, final top course, but that's just an overlay. We will also maybe be milling a portion of the road as the town feels that we need to replace a little bit of the base course on the roadway. But again, all that's confined within the roadway. Won't even go outside the curving of the shoulders. So, we felt like we're in a good position to request the certificate of compliance, as it's just one of our steps that we'll need to get out of the way before we go for street acceptance with at the town meeting. So, the only other thing I wanted to mention, Rebecca, we mentioned this on site, but Bob Kiley, the applicant, still has a record that there is in fact outstanding bond money with your commission, something in the amount of $10,000 or $12,000, something in that range. So
I will confirm that and get back to you.
If the committee sees it fit to issue a certificate of compliance, we'd respectfully request that fund be closed out. I'm happy to take any questions. Thanks for your time.
Greg, I just have a comment. Can you just put or have Bob put in an email so it's in writing the request for release of those funds?
Yep.
Upon issuance of certificate of compliance or something to that nature?
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
And I should just, that request goes through, like, it's not something we have to vote on as the release of the funds. Usually it's just contingent upon, as long as we give all right, perfect.
Yeah, so if it's contingent upon issuing a COC, you can make that part of that same motion.
Yeah.
But if the commission wants to issue the COC and wait for any reason, but the rest of those funds are there waiting for the COC, basically.
Yeah.
Would it help if I send an email right now? I can send you one right now.
That's fine.
Record.
Yeah, either way. I was just going to ask about the plantings, and Rebecca, it sounds like you've been through here. Everything seems fine, but have the plantings taken relatively? And I know Houghton's been around for a while.
Yeah, they have. The trees along the roadway look fine. Those are the deciduous trees. They look relatively healthy as well. Within the restoration or the replication area, that came in quite nicely. I have no question about the vegetation there. It seemed fine. And then of course the stream goes into the open space parcel as well. So there's no negative impacts upstream or downstream from the development currently. So.
Do any other commission members have questions regarding this project or the COC? Okay. Rebecca, I think you gave your thoughts. Anything else to add?
No.
Any members of the public here to discuss this evening?
Cool.
None? Sorry.
It's okay. My computer started doing something a little strange. Nope, I don't see any comments.
Okay.
Just sent you an email, so you have that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I don't really need to put anything about that in the motion, correct?
No, but there are some conditions that in the order of conditions are necessary to be in perpetuity. So it may be beneficial that we draft, or I draft those and give them to you, and then you approve it. So I'm not sure if the applicant may be willing to just wait one more meeting for that, understanding that if the commission is comfortable with it this evening, and then we can also provide an update on those funds that are being held.
Yeah, and that way we could vote on those too if we needed to, or if we needed to okay them. That would work. Again, it's up to the applicant. I don't know. September 1st is our next meeting. If that is too long of a wait at this point, and you'd like to hear something tonight.
So you're saying that you'd like to have a list of the conditions, the perpetual.
Yeah, so I just want to get Brian the language that needs to be in the conditions in perpetuity, which are in the order of conditions, but I just want to make them a little bit more concise so he can read through them during the meeting.
Okay.
I was waiting because I thought that I would hear back about the parking area that they're fixing. And again, not detrimental to, that's related to the open space, not related to the Wetlands Protection Act in particular.
Yep.
So I do apologize for not having those this evening, but
Okay.
the items that we need to carry in perpetuity, I need to take the language directly from the order of conditions.
Yeah. Well, I guess I don't see a huge problem with that, given that you're saying it's 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
It should, and I will say, we have the full commission online right now, and nobody had any questions or any outstanding objections.
I appreciate that. No, thank you. Yeah, that's fine. I guess that's acceptable.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That just makes life easier, I think.
Mhm.
All right. In that case, I'd like to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for the request for certificate of compliance for Houghton Farm till our next meeting, Tuesday, September 1st, 2020 at 7:45 p.m.
Yep.
All right. All those do I hear a second on that motion?
Second.
Right. All those in favor, Jeff Bryant,
Aye.
Emily Winter,
Aye.
Kip McNamara,
Aye.
Bill Payne,
Aye.
Lori Stevenson,
Aye.
and put me down as an aye as well.
Wonderful. And Greg, I will get back to you about the funds being held.
Okay.
And then we'll communicate about that as well.
I just sent you an email authorizing a continuation, just so you have it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
All right, Rebecca, let me know when you've had a chance to catch up and you are ready.
Sure.
A discussion of 183 Harvard Road.
Yes. So for 183 Harvard Road, this is an informal discussion. The property owner's representative had reached out to me as they are looking to finally put on the conservation restriction, or the deed restriction, declaration of restriction, excuse me, that is required by Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program as an additional condition for the work that they had done on their property some time ago now. So they are now in the final stages of the conservation restriction process, and what they're looking for is, would the town, it's a very simple question of, would the town be interested in potentially holding their conservation restriction? The land would stay in private ownership with that restriction over it. Obviously, we would have time to review. Council would have time to review on behalf of the Conservation Commission as well, prior to it being finalized. But their side is finalized. They have the language they would like to keep. The other entity that would potentially hold it is the Bolton Conservation Trust. They are also reviewing it, but I felt that I couldn't answer for the commission other than to say it is typical that we hold conservation restrictions or the trust. So I did say I would put it on the agenda to pose that question to the commission, if they had any issues with it, or if they would rather the trust hold it, or if the commission felt so strongly that they would want to hold the CR.
Excellent questions. And I know we've had these before. I think in the past, I usually remember correctly, usually the town will hold the CR in these. I am perfectly fine with the trust holding the CR in these.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of who would do a better job of oversight, or, you know, where does it make more sense? And I'm happy to hear others' input on that, because I'm not really sure myself.
Is there any other land around it that either we own or have control of, or the trust has control of, that would make sense that it continue in one direction or the other?
Yep, so that's an excellent question. And the trust is currently working on a conservation restriction for 189 Harvard Road. So they had reached out and said they may hold it as well. And that's, I think, because of the adjacent conservation restriction that they are already working with the property owners on for the same reason. It may be beneficial for them to hold it. So that's another option, is to say, because of this reason, that's an adjacent CR, we would prefer the Conservation Trust hold it, but if they can't for some reason, the town obviously would be fine with it or not. And that's, I think, the information we're trying to get tonight.
I am perfectly happy with that line of thinking, and it makes a lot of sense to me. And I guess we're waiting to hear back from council and everything, but yeah, it makes sense if it's semi-contiguous, that I'm comfortable with it going to the trust, but letting the homeowners know that the town will pick it up if for some reason the trust won't, as long as, again, it meets all the standards we're looking for. Any other commission members have strong thoughts or feelings on this?
I agree with what you just said.
Seems to make sense. Is there anybody calling in for this one?
I see no chat function questions, and I see no regular hands raised or anything, so.
Okay. So in that case, if you would just let them know what we discussed tonight, or point them to the public meeting, that would be fantastic.
Sure.
All right.
Okay, let me. I apologize, I didn't copy everything over from the original. We also have, by the original, I mean the one that was posted to the town website. Okay, so we also have 66 Oak Trail, which is a property that is adjacent to the Oak Trail open space, so the conservation property surrounding the Oak Trail subdivision. The resident, who I believe is on the call right now, or was.
Yes, he is.
Oh, yes, he is. Hello. He had reached out to the mosquito control group, or CMMCP, and had requested through the normal track to treat his property. And after some correspondence, he brought to our attention, or my attention, that the CMMCP would not treat his property because it was in too close of proximity to the conservation land, which had excluded. So the Conservation Commission at one of their last meetings had excluded all conservation properties from adulticide treatment. The last correspondence I had with the director of CMMCP was because we asked, would it be detrimental if they treated this gentleman's property? would it reach our property and what are the parameters of that? And they stated that they've decided to hold their original decision not to spray the area due to the proximity to the conservation land. And so the question, I told the property owner who's with us that I would put it on the agenda. And really the only thing is I will still be reaching out to CMMCP to inquire as to what they could do, or I would advise the property owner to do the same to see if they can do part of the property or something to that nature, because I still don't quite fully understand why CMMCP can't treat it. But the last option as well is, would the commission want to remove that property from the exclusion? In terms of that property being the Oak Trail open space.
How close to the conservation property are we
Let me
talking?
pull this up for you.
So are you going to share something, Rebecca? Or do you want?
Yes, I'm going to pull up a map just so it's clear, and I apologize for not having it before.
I have one that I can share as well. So while Rebecca is pulling that, we have been living here for about 5 years. We built a new house. And I know from the Ducharme as-built drawing, one of the drawings I have is that one of the corners of our lot that, say, from Oak Trail to my southwest corner approximately is at least 235 to 236 feet. On the other side, the length of the side is longer. Now, I don't know, as I understand, CMMCP would actually just spray from the street.
Mm-hmm.
And it does go, apparently there's a column, they say, that goes to a certain depth. But because of the proximity, they have been concerned and they have avoided. And my appeal is under the current pandemic, we're locked up. Actually, if you want to go into our backyard, and right now, as I'm sitting here, on my porch, I am being attacked by mosquitoes at this time. So we were looking for some relief.
My only questions or comments would be, A, how close are we to the conservation property, and B, what the range is when they spray, and if it's really even an issue at all, I guess, with what we had talked about at our last meeting about excluding conservation properties, this could be kind of a non-issue.
Yep. And so that's why I had reached out to CMMCP and said, why would you not spray this property? For that exact reason, because what was relayed to us in the meeting seemed to be that the spray did not reach that far from the roadway as we were just describing.
And I think that's why, when we were originally talking about it, it was more conservation land, that it was the trailheads, like that, what use was it going to do? Because you're not going to go all the way in, but it's somebody's property. It's it's probably going to only go in about 100 yards or whatever to that nature. It was more the trail. But the way I looked at it was more the trailheads that it needs to be sprayed.
Yep. So, Lori, are you on a computer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can everyone see the map that I just shared?
Yes.
Okay. So the highlighted
Yes.
parcel is the 66 Oak Trail. And the pink parcel is the conservation open space. There is a trail easement that runs along the rear of this property. It's a 25-foot trail easement. And then we do have wetlands, but here's the roadway. And here's the gentleman's property.
And the house is,
go ahead.
If I may add, the house is located approximately where it says 21.
Right.
So beyond that, beyond the blue marker, and then further, what would that be? East, let's say. We barely even go there. I mean, that's where the septic field is. That's wooded. So our concern is just right behind the house, if you will.
I personally don't have an issue with it. I can't see any kind of sprayer that's going to reach to that degree. I mean, that's a long ways from the road all the way out to that conservation land.
Yeah.
Now, Rebecca, you had mentioned something. I don't have an issue either. I agree with Lori. But you had mentioned something about excluding. Would that mean we'd be excluding all of this open space or
No,
just?
it can be parcel specific, and after the commission makes a decision or I hear feedback this evening, I'll go back and reach out to CMMCP and inquire further. And if in fact it is, we can do a parcel, so just exclude this parcel here. I mean, just include that parcel there so that his property can be treated and further understand. Well, the step one of it is to better understand why they can't treat it as is. How far does your spray equipment reach? Because it still doesn't really make sense to me why they can't treat.
Rebecca,
But when they're being precautious, if they need, in order to feel more comfortable with it, even if it's not going to reach it, where by their statistics it's not going to reach it, can we include this property? And if we include this property, does that then allow the treatment of this gentleman's property? And if it still doesn't, I don't know the solution, because then it's a little beyond us, but I'm hoping one of those two will be the answer.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Does did the property owners at 20 and 22 get treated?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, you know, it looks to me like if they get treated, they're almost in the same spot. If the pink is the restriction area,
right?
And you know, he is closer to the wetlands, but not much more closer than 20 and 22. Whether there looks like there are homes on those two lots there as well, but.
I don't.
To my knowledge, I may have been one of the first to request. I did that on the 7th of July. And the past 3-4 weeks, I have been watching their spray schedule, which is published on Monday afternoons.
Yeah.
And Oak Trail is not even listed. So I don't know if they made a request, but to my knowledge, Oak Trail has not even, anybody, no one on Oak Trail has been sprayed.
So no one's made a request to be sprayed other than what you're talking about.
What I'm saying is I'm not aware if anyone made a request.
Okay,
right.
That was my question.
I've been here.
Yeah.
So that should, Rebecca, that should be.
Oh, you muted yourself, Jeff.
What I mean by that is if his neighbors have requested to be sprayed, and they're he's singling out his lot, then
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but if he's the only one being asked to be sprayed and all the neighbors don't want it to be sprayed, that's a different story, right?
Right, exactly. And that's what I'm going to, after I hear feedback from the commission this evening, I'm going to go back, talk to CMMCP, figure out exactly what the reason is, why it's not being sprayed. And if it's just because the resource area and then the open space, really the open space being adjacent to his property, if that's the only reason, then the commission can give me the answer. If that's not the only reason, then that becomes bigger than the commission.
I agree.
If you look over on the other side of the property, you got Belleville running along there with the open space all along the road. Obviously, we don't need that sprayed. That's conservation land. But the same scenario is what you're seeing on that side. You got these homeowners. If they want to be sprayed, I don't have an issue with it because I don't think it's ever going to hit the conservation land.
Right.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree as well.
I think that's what we originally were talking about at the last meeting when we voted on it.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's still how I understand it as well. And that's why I want to talk to CMMCP again to just clarify that. because it seems for some reason they feel it may impact further than, but, so it sounds like the commission does not have a problem if his property is treated. And
Let's
if,
hear what they got to say.
okay,
Yeah, no, I don't offhand, because again, that was my understanding. If somebody wanted their property sprayed, they could get it sprayed. I'm wondering if, and I don't know if this public meeting, since it's being recorded and our discussion is good enough, if they would feel better with us doing an official vote. If we say something where it's like, we will allow this property to be sprayed, that we understand, you know, there may be some carryover to lands we asked not to be sprayed, but we're perfectly fine with you spraying this residence.
okay,
In other words, rather than taking that whole parcel out, which again, we can take that parcel out if it becomes a big issue, but asking if we can just request
Treat
that house be sprayed and vote that it's okay with the commission.
yeah, okay.
Can I just suggest that, is that that one with the 14, is that one separate parcel?
Yes.
I would just suggest that we do exclude that parcel, because if lots 22 and 23 run into the same issue, we're not going through this again.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have any additional impact. Whereas what Lori said before with the conservation land that's number 7, that is has frontage on Ballville Road, where there's that concern that we were talking about at our last meeting.
Right.
But parcel 14 conservation is not a main road. It's off of the side road. There's 2 other properties abutting it that may potentially look to request spraying down the road.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so does that make sense? Imran?
Yes, indeed. So what I heard was a couple of things. I think one suggestion was to have a vote so that parcel 14 is excluded and this is communicated, because that may be clearer to CMMCP that the Conservation Commission has actually allowed this.
Yeah.
Or are you suggesting that you would take this discussion and the output back to them and see what they say next?
So actually, partially both. Because it's an item on the agenda as a discussion item, the commission would have to make a formal vote at the next meeting. So what Brian was saying is a good interim or a good solution for right now is what he just described as the commission doesn't seem to have a problem with the treatment of the 66 Oak Trail property. And we are well aware that's adjacent to 14 shown on this map, which is a conservation parcel, and would allow the treatment of your parcel at 66 Oak Trail if they needed that authorization. So that in itself, since that and this discussion goes into the minutes, that should be fine. But again, I will relay that to them so long as the chair and the commission is comfortable with that, which it sounds like they are. But I also need to better understand the parameters of why your parcel was canceled out. And I tried before to do that, but it still is unclear to me. So now we at least have the immediate answer. So they will hopefully be able to, but if it's another reason that the commission doesn't have the ability to authorize on, then we'll have to work. If it's something the commission can assist with, we'll come back to the meeting on September 1st and discuss it and make a vote. But at this time, it sounded like this was the resolve for that. So I'm hoping that's the case.
Okay. All right. I appreciate the support. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right. Good place to move on to ZBA request.
I would. We do have 72 Hudson Road, which is the last, it's an informal discussion.
Yep, sorry.
Andrew Adams is present, I believe. Yep.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Thanks for having me on.
Sure. Do you just want to give a brief summary of what you are proposing?
Yeah, so,
Okay.
you know, I built a custom home on 72 Hudson Road, as you know. We had to go through conservation because we were, you know, right off the pond. You know, we abided by everybody's rules. The house came out awesome. We ended up doing some sodding in the areas near the house that are near the pond, to try to see if we could get the erosion controls taken away sooner than later. So in a nutshell, that's really why we're here. The house is finished. The landscaping's done. The owner put a lot of money into outside. He's on his deck. He doesn't want to wait well, he will wait, but he's kind of requesting to see if we could have a discussion about pulling these erosion controls off the pond area to kind of finish the landscaping. So that's kind of why Rebecca came out there. As you can see in those pictures, that's a little stone path, the kind of little boat path down to the dock. His master bedroom's on the right here. You know, he just kind of looks, the erosion controls at this point kind of look not the best. So we're just kind of seeing what you guys thought about pulling those sooner than later. You know, we're not really disturbing any of the pond area. I think Rebecca saw that everything looked pretty good over there. And if we do pull the erosion controls, it's not going to force any erosion from the mulch or any of the hardscape back down to the pond. We'd make sure that's, you know, pretty intact and not loose or anything like that. So that's really it right now. Just kind of looking for a little discussion about that.
So I was out, as Andrew said, the site adjacent to the pond side of the single family home is vegetated in areas where it's not covered in vegetation. They have provided some landscaped areas with mulch. This is the sod area that Andrew was talking about. And again, the reason why they did that was so that it could be stabilized in a more timely fashion. This is looking back from the pond towards this was the garage and the covered walkway that was permitted as well. And they were paving the roadway at the back of the garage, again, away from the pond. They are still waiting for the seed to grow. They hydro seeded probably 5 days ago now.
Yep.
And across the driveway as well. If you can see my cursor over here is the single family home. Right now you're looking from the side of the garage out towards Hudson Road. And this area they did quite a bit of landscaping with some bushes and shrubs and trees, but they also hydro seed that area. So really the only outstanding item is the hydro seeding of that area. And then they don't have a formal request for certificate of compliance before us because they're waiting for that to be stabilized with the hydro seed, even though it's relatively flat. They are inquiring to remove erosion control, and I apologize if this makes anyone dizzy, erosion control along the pond side of the single family home that was built. So the question is, would the commission wait for the certificate of compliance to be issued like the order of condition says, or do they feel comfortable that it's stabilized and this erosion control can be removed now rather than waiting?
I personally would want to do a site visit and see it.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. as well. No, I remember this project. I remember what it looks like, and it is a pretty steep drop behind that erosion. Not steep, but it's a quick drop down to the lake behind the erosion control. I'd be curious to see it as well. And again, you know, I'd kind of go with your thoughts, Rebecca, on if you think it is stable enough. Those would be my big questions, I guess. If more of an expert opinion.
Okay. So, well, it sounds like at least one, if not more than one, of the commission members would like to conduct a site visit as well. So it may be beneficial to conduct a site visit and then either say contingent upon the commission seeing that it's stable, you can remove it, or wait for the COC and we're going to conduct a site visit, and in the interim you can request a COC.
I agree with that, by the way.
Okay.
All right. I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm hoping it may be beneficial too that I know eventually you'll request a COC. If we do a site visit now, and the only thing we're waiting for is hydro seeding, when you request a COC, we probably won't have to go back out and take a look. We'll all be familiar with what we're expecting to see, and if Rebecca says the hydro seeding's fine, you know, you're all set. So might be beneficial too. Hoping.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm fine with it. Whatever you guys feel more comfortable. I want everyone to be happy about it. The only thing I can say, Brian, is you mentioned there was a steep slope there. It definitely is a little steeper, you know, than normal. All I can say is that what you're looking at now is just say you pulled that out.
Yep.
You know, pulled the erosion croak and pulled that fence out. Like, it's still going to be that stabilized mulch right where it is. Like, nothing else is growing at that point. I don't see anything, you know, how it's going to erode down from that point. I guess everything is stabilized at this point. That's the only thing I could say is everything's stable. That's why we put the sod in. So I think it's well protected in terms of eroding down the line, but no problem with you guys coming out and taking a look at it for sure.
That's great. And it looks like you guys did a great job. By the way, the pictures look fantastic. The house looks gorgeous.
Thank you. It came out really nice.
And they kept the foundation that was there, as you can see.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
A little challenge.
So, Andrew, are there dates that you're aware of that your client and the property owner would rather or rather not the commission come out, or times?
I mean, honestly, Ray broke his hip like 2 weeks ago and had it replaced. So he's hanging out and wants everyone to come over to look at the house and have coffee on the deck. So
Okay.
I'm sure he'll be happy about whenever you guys want to get there.
Okay, so I'll send an email correspondence after we decide with the commission when the members who do want to attend the site visit will be available. And then you will be able to confirm whether or not that works for your client.
Okay. I mean, you think that's something that could happen sooner than later, or it just all depends on everyone's availability?
Yep, it just depends on availability, but I'm sure the commission will.
Okay.
It may be that not everyone comes out at once who wants to come out. It may be different times just so that we can work with the commission's availability. But again, that will be relayed to you prior.
Okay. Okay. So then everyone comes out, takes a look at it. Do we have to go back to like a public discussion like this?
So that's what I would defer to the chair and the board. That's up to them. If they wish to say the removal of the erosion control is continued upon the site visit, then we come back September 1st and you're able to remove it. Or they say, you know, we want to wait until the request for certificate of compliance, then you have to wait longer. So I'll leave that up to Brian, or he can say, if we are out individually, if the commission relays that they're comfortable with it to me individually, then he also has the ability to authorize me to allow you to remove it, or authorize me to say, no, this is the request, you need to wait.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I'm not sure if I will officially commemorate that however we need to, but I am perfectly fine with that case. If the commission members have a chance to get out and take a look at it and everybody's fine, or the majority of the commission's fine with it, just us conveying to Rebecca, yes, let them know that it's okay to remove the erosion controls. I'm just not sure how the best way to commemorate that.
I think just you saying it is
Right, because it's
fine.
just an open public discussion on it.
Yep.
And again, I'll ask any commission members if everybody is okay with that plan, or if anybody has any objections to that idea.
I say once, if you get four members that say that's fine, then that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, cool. That makes sense.
All right.
Awesome.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yep.
All right,
And we'll
take care.
be in touch about scheduling the site visit.
Perfect. Thanks for your help, Rebecca. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Bill.
Take care.
Okay.
All right. Rebecca, let me know when you are ready.
I am ready now.
All right. Would you like to discuss the Zoning Board of Appeals request?
Sure. So once again, the Zoning Board of Appeals has requested that has reached out and requested that the Conservation Commission provide comments on the most recent updated list of requested exemptions for the Woods at Farm Road 40B comprehensive permit. And currently they're going through the comprehensive permit with the Zoning Board of Appeals, they being the property owners and developers of Woods at Farm Road. It is not formally before the Conservation Commission at this time. It is just specific to inquiring if the commission has any comments related to the waivers before us. It is slightly different from the comments that were requested previously. They have narrowed down and provided a more definitive list. So I am sharing that list right now, the ones that are specific to conservation in our local wetland bylaw. And I wasn't sure, I did email them as well. And you can also provide written comment via email, and then I will forward that to Zoning Board of Appeals if you wish. But these are the requests. They include exemptions to allow alterations within the adjacent upland resource area in accordance with setbacks, to allow for the construction of the development. As you can see here, they list out the area of that, so they are not proposing anything within 25 feet other than the removal of the existing structures within the 25-foot buffer zone and improvements of that buffer zone. So there is a structure there. There's technically 3 structures there that they'll be looking to remove as part of the development project. The rest, as you can see, is associated with their proposed structures and units, along with the well and well pump house. The sewage disposal system, leach area, and tanks had some grading within the adjacent upland resource area, so they're requesting a waiver for that as well. I'm trying to see. So are there any immediate comments? I know, obviously, and I will include that, is to the best case scenario, have no work within jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. And as always, we'll include that. But I wasn't sure if the commission had any specific items that they wanted to address or talk about, just in terms of providing comment to the ZBA?
Do we have the full map and plans for it?
Yes, bear with me one moment. Bear with me one moment.
And I'll just say, while you're pulling them up, the reason I ask is, when I first was reading through all those, it's the avoid, minimize, mitigate, that it's hard. Some of them, it's like, I hate to grant an exception if I can look at the map and say, well, why don't you put the well over there? Well, we'll have to lose
Right.
a unit if we do that. Well, lose the unit. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's trying to figure out, especially, some of those exemptions, they don't, well, I guess with the bylaws, they are 28-foot incursions. Some of them are relatively significant.
Yeah. So this is an exhibit of their plan, so this isn't exact. But as you can see, this is unit 1. This is the well location proposed. This is the grading. Their property line is in bold. There is some overflow here with riprap. There is an access proposed here and here. And then obviously 4 units. I know in the last set of comments we sent comments associated with pulling the grading outside of the jurisdictional area, reducing the access to 1 versus 2. And in addition to that, I believe reducing the structures to 2 structures, or excuse me, I believe actually the commission relayed that it was to minimize to 1 structure with multiple units in it. I believe that was suggested in the past comments. They are trying to work with the design board as well to provide structures that fit in with the rural and historic character of Bolton. So that is why I believe they have it as 4 structures, but I'm not sure. But that's just some feedback that we've gotten as well.
I'd be
So
curious
do those, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'd be curious with the second curb cut where that comes in. I'm trying to look, is it the dashed yellow lines? Is that
That's the
buffer zone?
100.
Right, coming in off the other, well, basically, I want to say north, right? The north of this map.
Yeah. Right here.
So, yeah, it looks like a ton of the septic is in the buffer zone.
Yep.
What was, I'm sorry, as I'm losing light, what were they asking for an offset for that? Sewage disposal system to be located 72 feet from the edge of wetlands. I mean, it looks like it's, is that the 100-foot, I guess?
Yep, that's what it looks. Again, this is the exhibit, not the
Right.
exact plan. So I'm not sure if they have done a new rendition that shows something a little bit different. And I apologize for not having that this evening.
When is ZBA meeting? When would they like comments by?
they would like comments by their next meeting, which I believe is in about a month.
Okay.
And I can confirm that for you.
I think, and I'll pull what everybody else is looking to. I think I'd like to see the plans and
Okay.
kind of get my questions to you in writing.
Yep.
Or even, I mean, we can even discuss them at our next meeting if there's time before the ZBA, but I'd kind of like to look at the plans.
Yes. Not
and
a
then
problem.
kind of get back to you on that. I'm curious, others' thoughts, if that works for other people, if you have comments tonight you'd like to put in.
I'd like to see the updated plans and be able to compare them to the original design too.
Yep.
And are the updated plans, those are updated based on the list of waivers? So the list of waivers saying we would like this within 72 feet, that's what the new design is?
It will show,
Okay.
so it will show what the waivers are for. So it'll show the resource area and where the structures are. Yes.
Right. Is there any member of the public here tonight that wants to comment on this?
Let me see. I see none.
Rebecca, do you have any additional thoughts you would like to share at this point?
I don't, other than the ones you have already shared. The site was previously used for agriculture. There are structures that they're removing, but which is beneficial. And I think it is important to note that. But at the end of the day, I think they have the ability to reduce the impact to the jurisdictional areas of the commission within the realm of, or within the parameters that developers are able to work. So I would wait to see what the commission has for comments related to the plans before making specific comments. But like Brian stated, minimizing, mitigating, and if that can't be done, conditioning, that's how the commission looks at these projects under the wetland bylaw. And if they can work with that prior to receiving the waivers and making those alternate solutions, I think that would be beneficial, taking into consideration the commission's comments even from last time, because the Wetlands Protection Act still applies. And if they still have work within 100 feet, that they're still gonna be having those comments addressed with the Conservation Commission. So it's better to iron those out now, even if they are still requesting a waiver, minimizing the amount of area they're impacting is beneficial, so.
Okay. That said, barring objection, I will allow people to, I guess we'll email Rebecca with comments and questions as you have them, and hopefully get them to her within the next week or two so the ZBA has a chance to review them themselves before the meeting.
Yes, and I will send you an email confirming that tomorrow, or requesting that tomorrow, but also confirming the ZBA's next meeting date.
Good point.
We have a copy of the plan that are you going to email that plan
Yes.
to us?
Yep. Yep.
Did people have a chance to look at the July 28th, 2020 meeting minutes?
Yes, found no typos.
All right, I will allow anybody else that still needs to look at them. All right, if you need me to hold off, just let me know. If not, I'm going to make a motion that we approve our July 28th, 2020 meeting minutes as drafted and submitted. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, Jeff Bryant?
Aye.
Emily Winter?
Aye.
Kip McNamara?
Aye.
Bill Payne?
Aye.
And Lori Stevenson?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well.
Excellent. So our land steward position is still open, even though we have our wonderful volunteers on our Bolton Trails Committee, sort of picking up that work or continuing work. The Taggart acquisition project updates. The only update we have is we've been communicating with the property owner. We are awaiting the purchase and sales agreement signature, and the property came back with a clear title other than the Chapter 61, but where the town holds that lien, it's a moot point. Or not necessarily, but it's not a stop on
Easily
that.
overcome.
Yes, thank you. Easily overcome. Thank you. Additionally, we did submit the grant for the MAPC Accelerating Climate Resiliency Grant for assistance on that acquisition project. I did conduct a site visit with the land grant administrator last Friday. He was impressed with the parcel, and nothing negative came out of it, which was positive. It was the best it can be, I guess. And then we have not received any mail. We received a piece of mail for benches and signage, but not relevant. And we have conservation property updates, maintenance and management items. So I did want to just make a note. Brian did send a thank you to the summer interns, Brianna Carlisle and Shane Picarello. They helped me as well with the forest inventory, along with just stewardship of the trails, making sure the trails were clear. And then Shane went and documented where our signage was, because the Bolton Trails Committee is assisting in really pushing the project of updating the trail maps at each of the trailheads, so we have them printed. Shane went out and documented where they were and what material we need to post them. And I think Brian, your son, actually was assisting us with the condition of the signs, because that is another management item and maintenance that we need to do, and just documented where that needs to be done. So we should have added your son's name in there as well. But they are going back to college, and we are very thankful for the work that they did. The other item that just came up recently was on the open space towards the rear of Houghton Farm, which was deeded to the town some time ago. And there is a encroachment. An individual off of Pinewood Road has been excavating and stockpiling, because the open space comes over and has frontage along Pinewood Road. So I noted it after the site visit that we went on at Houghton Farm, a subdivision, as I was reviewing the open space, and sent a letter to them notifying them of the violation. This is open space property, etc. But upon looking at an aerial photo associated with the parcel map, there may be further encroachment, which I will be looking into tomorrow, and I will update you with any new information that I have. But I have yet to hear from the individual. They are requested to remove the stockpiles and to cease and desist from further disturbance and excavation. They've also been doing work along the roadway, so DPW will also be in contact with them, I believe. But that is where we are currently.
Thank you for the update.
You're welcome.
Any other outstanding issues or commission member questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
That goes along with the maintenance and management items. We were at the lime kiln yesterday, and I know, you know how, well, with the identification of plants throughout the trail, I have a question. At the trailhead,
Yep.
there is an identified multiflora rose, which is invasive and non-native. And I was wondering why we don't have it, we don't remove it, and B, why it has been identified.
Well, that process was started before I was here. However, I think it is beneficial to identify the invasive species. Why it has not been removed, I will get on that and work on that to remove it. But I can ask that question. I know there had been some work done by a few wonderful individuals in town to work on that project and work with a botanist to identify them, have those plaques made. So I'm not sure if they were just, we would like to identify this, including some invasives, or if it was fully thought out as this needs to be removed, so we shouldn't identify it because it shouldn't be here. But I will inquire about that, and either way, we'll work to remove that.
Is it identified as an invasive and could be used as an
I
educational?
was wondering, yeah.
I believe that was the purpose, just
But
because I know the individuals who did the signage, but
Yeah.
we can certainly remove a bit of it. It doesn't have to remain in flourishing nature.
Yeah, if you keep it in control, but identify it as an invasive so people know what they're looking for.
Yep.
Yeah, that's as an educational tool, that's great. They spread underground, above ground. So I was just curious, just because it is starting to grow up some of the trees, and I was just curious why, because I know a lot of the plaques on that trail are native, and it is a great educational tool. I was actually looking at a few things while we were walking, but I just happened, on our way out, I happened to see that. I was like, that's odd.
Yeah, it is. It is
being,
certainly
like,
catches you off guard.
contained, right? Like if we're trimming it and making sure it's not spreading, I totally understand that. But they can get out of hand. So I just was curious and thought I would bring it up, but
Yeah, I appreciate that.
not a.
You actually just reminded me too of, we did receive an email related to maintenance and management items, not mail, and that's why I didn't trigger it, from the DEP Central Regional Office, that they had received a complaint about the Tom Denny Nature Camp. And the complaint, I was not provided with the complainant's name or contact information. But the complaint was that the amount of attendees, I'll put it that way, but they said teenagers, children, counselors, et cetera, and broke it all down. The amount of attendees and staff of Tom Denny Nature Camp has an impact to the ecosystem specific to the pond. And their concern was, they also stated in the complaint that kayaking and swimming was the major activity of the camp, which to an extent I don't believe is fully true, but I will inquire that to the Tom Denny Nature Camp director, just because that's not what's relayed to us, and I don't believe it to be true. But that may be something that we're looking into in the near future regarding the integrity of the pond, not necessarily in direct relation to the camp, but in relation to the amount of traffic and the amount of users of the pond. They also complained about the fishing hooks and line left over, which is typical when you have people fishing, but it's not an excuse and it shouldn't happen. There is also, we're all aware that it's heavily trafficked by dogs and dog walkers. Dogs swim in the pond and everything that comes with that. So I wouldn't isolate it just to Tom Denny Nature Camp. I would isolate it to the higher traffic that we see. And related to that, the DPW will be working on the parking area as previously approved to delineate the space better within the next 2 weeks. So I think that will also assist in the reduction of impact to that area. But within the next couple months, I think I'll be proposing that the commission have someone come and assess the pond health.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting too. The person has I can understand their complaint and the reason why, but we did also condition, like we know Tom Denny Nature Camp has an impact on the conservation land. We're aware of that. We conditioned that impact and again discussed it publicly that this is a chance for local kids to learn about conservation, the outdoors, and this is the one property where we do it. We've been doing it for years. We're aware that there's an impact, but we try to condition that impact, and we also see benefits in it too.
Right, and I also did note to DEP that typically, not this year because of the constraints, but typically they do conduct or try to conduct a conservation project. So they've helped us out with bridges, they've helped us out with maintaining the property. So those are all things that obviously, as you stated, we take into consideration with the use of the property as well. But that is all I have.
All right. Any additional comments, thoughts, questions, concerns from commission members? All right. One last time, publicly want to thank Brianna and Shane. Fantastic. And I do want to do a quick thank you as well to Rebecca Longvall for agreeing to manage and mentor basically free labor for the town of Bolton. So I appreciate you taking your time to do that, and I appreciate all the work that they did, and I hope it serves them well in their studies. All that fun stuff said, I would like to make a motion that we officially adjourn the what are we, August 18th meeting, 2020 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission.
Can I ask one quick question before? Just to review, you're going to be setting up a site visit at 113 Wilder Road and over on Hudson.
Correct.
Hudson Road too. Okay.
Yes.
And you'll notify us. All right.
Yes.
Then I second the motion.
That is very kind of you. All those in favor of adjourning, starting with Jeff.
Yeah, aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Kip.
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
Lori Stevenson.
Aye.
And let's make it unanimous. I'm an aye as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all. Have a good night.